Bill 145 authorizes the issuance of general obligation bonds of the County of Hawaii for the purpose of funding all or portion of the costs of various improvement projects, fixing the form, denominations, and certain other details of such bonds, and providing for the sale to the public, and authorizes the taking of other actions relating to the issuance and sale of the bonds. Authorizes the issuance of up to $103 million in general obligation bonds to fund certain capital improvement projects, including Ani Keohokalole Highway Phase 3, Hinalani Street to Kaiminani Drive, Puna Connectivity and Emergency Access Routes, Paniolo Avenue Rehabilitation, Waikoloa Intersection Construction, Kawili Street Shoulder Improvements, Mamalohoa Highway Resurfacing, Hohola Drive to Kekehau Street, Plumeria Street Rehabilitation, and Waianui Nui Avenue Resurfacing, introduced by Mr. Chong.
Thank you, Mr. Chong.
You know, back in 2004, when I was about to leave the council, I introduced a similar bill. That one was for $40 million. And it was, again, laden with transportation projects. You know, the first things we have to ask whenever we entertain the notion of floating a bond is whether we have the ability to repay those bonds. And, you know, at some point we're going to have to talk to Deanna about that, but I have been in discussions with the administration in this regard, both with finance, the mayor's office, as well as the Department of Public Works. And, you know, so this wasn't done in a vacuum by any means. This was a collaborative effort on the part of the council and the administration. But it is nonetheless a council-initiated bill. And I guess the second question would be whether we want to float those bonds, you know, notwithstanding whether we're able to pay back. And then the third question, if we get that far, is what projects we would like there, or what kind of theme are we trying to establish? And for this one, I think it would behoove us to establish a theme of transportation. You know, we did approve the GET increase about a year ago, and it was with the promise to the public that we would make an effort to improve our transportation system. Now, I know there's been a lot of discussion or focus on our mass transit system, and certainly we're not going to ignore that. But at the same time, you know, we don't have a huge project like Oahu does. You know, they're the ones who started this 0.5% GET concept, and they have the rail. We don't have that kind of huge project, but what we can do is, you know, provide some kind of relief or at least improvements to the public that we serve. Now, what I've done here, and I stress that this is a council-initiated thing, so this is not Aaron Chung's bill. This is a council bill, because what I've tried to do is just, you know, listen over the years as to what types of projects, you know, would or should be needed in this county. I think the first thing that, number one on the priority list would be the Phase 3 of Anake. You know, it's a Kona project, but I know, you know, people in Kona have been clamoring for that, and I know Ms. Eoff and the other council contingent have been really strong on that, and this is our way of, you know, finalizing that last leg. You know, we've heard so much about the need for connectivity, emergency access in Puna, but, you know, at this point, I want to say that these things are subject to change. This is only something that I put in, and I wanted it to be a really unbiased type of perspective on what's needed in, you know, for the county of Hawaii. You know, it's not in my district, and far be it for me to say what's needed in Puna. So if, you know, anyone here wants to kind of change, tweak this thing, I have no problem. Okay. And of course, number 3, we have what's been presented to us in Waikoloa. And that's been a long-standing problem at the Waikoloa intersection, and then, you know, improvements to Paniolo. I think we really need to address those. And then, you know, Ms. Poindexter has been, you know, very vocal about Plumeria. You know, I know there's some state funding, but there's a state nexus to all of this, and it's going to require an infusion of county monies for this thing to really go. So, Ms. Poindexter has made it very clear how important that road is to her constituents. We also have Kawili. Yeah, and I really didn't do this with regard to council districts, and I really apologize, and I, Miley, my good pal over here, there's really nothing there for her. And, if she can kind of include things if she wants, but it was really done without thinking too much about districts, because I didn't want this to be a land grab where everybody says, well, I'm entitled to, X amount, my fair share here. It really is based on what I've heard and what we've been hearing all of these years as to needs throughout the island. So Kawili Street, that's been a big problem for many, many years, and it is the engine, one of our economic engines for the university. We need the sidewalks, possibly. I know Miss Liloy has talked about extending sidewalks all the way down to the community college, and that would be fantastic. But that would need a CIP appropriation. So, we'll work on that at some point. Mamalahoa Highway resurfacing, the continuation all the way to Mud Lane. And I don't even know whose district that is, whether it's Miss Poindexter's or Mr. It's kind of right on the cusp over there, right? And then I put Wainui Nui. I think everybody knows how, much we need to improve Wainui Nui. Now, initially, as you can see in this bill, I put two parenthetical clauses next to the Anake item and Wainui Nui, reference the STIP monies and trying to further leverage that. But it was pointed out to me by Ms. Eoff, and thank you, Ms. Eoff, in working with the Public Works Department, that there might be other sources of funding available. So I have an amendment that I'm going to be surfacing later on that takes out those two parenthetical clauses. But, this is in no way saying that these projects are exhaustive of the needs that we have on the island. But it should give us a good kickstart. And maybe in a year or two, we can, add to these things, further, introduce, more bond bills. And again, this is with the idea that we're leveraging the monies that we are realizing, monies that we didn't have before. So monies that we are realizing from the increase in the GET. And I think this is money well spent, and we really owe it to the public. So, I'm open to ideas. I just wanted to float this concept, and this is, our effort, the council's effort, in trying to make good on our promise to the public. That's all. Thank you.
We made a promise from a transportation that if we're going to collect the funds, we better use them. And this is a way to amplify it. We can get a lot more done sooner. And I do appreciate that Public Works is working, trying to push things forward to get things done, because that's what we need to do. Also in this, and one of the things we have learned from the transportation as a county, that if we can have projects and programs shovel ready and all planned, ready to go, the state can help us find funding, because there's hundreds of millions of dollars turned back to the feds every year that go unused because people weren't ready to use them. And if we're ready to use them, all the better. So we can, again, amplify that.
So to know that we could work towards getting funds for capital improvement projects in the district that Ashley and I continue to fight for all the time and see some real improvements, that would be a great step. And I think to building public kind of sentiment that we are taking care of Puna. And then beyond just eruption and how we deal with replacing what we lost, but improving what we had before that. So I appreciate this very much. Thank you.